Hello, welcome to the webinar. I'm Chris London from Electrical Marketers. I think we'll give it about another minute and then we'll get started because there's a few more people just joining. We're going to cover quite a lot of detail today and go into quite a lot of depth in how to get your business ranking well in Google Maps. Don't worry if you miss out on any parts. We're going to record the webinar so we can email out a link afterwards and then you can run through any bits again. If you have any questions, anything you want me to cover in more detail, there'll be an email address as well. So just pop an email over and we'll have a look at that and come back to you with a bit more detail on it. And if you need any feedback on what you're doing currently, likewise, just pop an email over. We'll have a quick look at what your Google presence is at the moment and try and give you some ideas as to how you can improve where you are in the Google Maps rankings. Okay, I think we'll get started now. Anyone that comes in late can always catch up with us later on. So let me just make my face a bit smaller. I'll just move myself out of the way up there. So we at Electrical Marketers, we're an online marketing company. We focus on all areas of marketing. So things like website design, search ranking, social media, all those types of things. And we specialize in the electrical and security markets. The reason for that is we used to work in all different sectors, but it's becoming more and more difficult to actually achieve things for clients when you're trying to one week work for a physio, the next week for an engineering company, then a security business, and then a house builder. If you work in lots of different areas, it's very difficult to achieve results because there is so much competition now that you really need to become experts in a small area, and then you can really get some good results for your customers. So that's what we do, is we just focus on the electrical and security markets, and by doing that we can achieve some good results. What I'm going to show you today is how we work in Google Maps to get companies ranking highly in their local area, because if you do rank well in Google Maps, you'll be amazed just how many inquiries come through from that. And everything I'm going to cover is looked at from the perspective of an electrical and security company, so it's completely relevant to the people on this webinar. So what are we going to cover today? First of all, the importance of Google Maps for electrical and security companies, and I'll try and show you why it is the number one focus for us when we start working with a new company. How to set up Google My Business correctly. And Google My Business is the directory listing that Google has for all the companies in the UK, or theoretically all companies in the UK. So your business will have a Google My Business listing, and I'm going to show you how it should be set up properly to really make the most of your Google ranking. And then I'll go on to our proven model for ranking well in Google Maps. We call it the Google Maps 3-pack because there are 3 results at the top of Google Maps which appear on the home page of search engine results. And if you're one of those 3, you'll get an awful lot of contacts, phone calls, inquiries, emails, etc. Now, why online marketing? Why is it important? The latest data shows that about 97% of consumers search online to find a local business. So where they haven't got an existing relationship, where they haven't been referred to somebody by one of their friends or relations, they'll look online. 10 years ago, we had Yellow Pages and we had the phone directory and Thomson Local and so on, but those have all gone now. So really, the only way you can find a new business if you don't know one is either to look in your local newspaper, and certainly where we are, we no longer get any local newspapers, or go into a search engine and type in what you need and look there. From our studies of the websites we've built, we find about 91% of the time people are using Google for those searches. That is their main search engine. There are others, obviously there's Bing, Microsoft search engine, which we find gets about 6 or 7% of searches. And then there's Yahoo and 1 or 2 small ones that get the other 2 or 3%. But really Google is the main one. So we focus all our efforts on getting things right for Google. And if you do that, it will work across the board. The last thing that's worth knowing in terms of online marketing is about 2/3 of people say they check reviews on Google before contacting a company for the first time. So being visible isn't enough. You also need to have good reviews so people look at your business and think, yes, they're a good company to deal with, and then they pick up the phone and they send the email and get in touch with you. Now, Google search. We're going to focus on Google search due to the fact that it is the main thing. And with all our customers, we're always looking to help them dominate search results. Google search results page is continually changing. Currently, the things on it are what are called local service ads. I'll show you in a bit more detail in a moment, a real example. But local service ads are the ones up at the top here. So for electrician, if you type in electrician, it will often bring up 3 local service ads for companies near you. This is relatively recent. I think it came in about March of 2020. Then you've got the traditional Google ads below that. Then directories, Checkertrade, Trusted Trader, Yale.com, they're all in there under directories. Then the Google Maps area, where you have the map, followed by what we call the 3-pack. So 3 companies that are at the top of the map listings are shown below the map. And then the normal Google search results. Let's just have a look in a bit more detail at a real search page. So a common search is electrician near me. It's searched about 60,000 times a month. And anyone searching for electrician near me is going to see a page fairly similar to that. So here are our local service ads at the top. What happens with these is you don't pay to appear, but if someone clicks on the ad and then phones your business, then Google will charge you. For an electrician, the charge is between about £14 and £21 per call. And it's based on how much competition there is in that area. So in a competitive area, you'll be paying £21 a call. In a less competitive area, about £14 a call. That sounds good from the point of view if the call turns into business. Obviously, £14, £15, £16 isn't very much to pay for it. However, there is the risk that you don't know what type of person will be calling you. So it could be, for example, someone that's looking for an electrician for their car. The headlights aren't working on their car. So they type in electrician near me. They contact you and you're not an auto electrician, and therefore it's a complete waste of the £15, £16 you spent on it. I often refer to the local service ads as a bit of a gamble. You know, you're paying quite a bit of money, you're taking a chance, and you're hoping that the inquiries that come through are going to be the decent house rewires, office rewiring, the bigger work that you really want, rather than just small jobs that aren't really worth quoting for. And I always think as well, with every inquiry that comes in, no one really contacts one company to get a quote. They normally contact 2 or 3. So when the phone rings and this person contacts you, they're probably looking at 1 or 2 others, and therefore, even if they go out to 3 companies, you've only got a 1 in 3 chance of getting their business. So it's always worth factoring in, that sort of cost as well. Now, lower down the page, we've got the directories. So Trusted Trader, in this case we've got Rated People on here, Checkertrade's there, Bark, Yale's on there as well. We don't find these directories get many clicks. The reason being, if someone searched on Google for an electrician, they're not then going to search again on Checkertrade or Trusted Trader. What they more likely do is go straight to one of those directories and search for what they wanted there, rather than searching in Google and then searching all over again. It's wasted activity. So these don't tend to do all that well. Here are our Google map listings. You'll notice always with Google Maps that the ones that appear at the top generally have good reviews, and they will also be local to where you're searching. So I've searched for electrician near me, and Google has found 3 electricians within a few miles of where I'm based at the moment. And with all of them, there's a link to the website, there's a link to get directions. Obviously you can click on the record and you can get there, you can phone them directly from here. Lower down are the normal what we call organic search results. So all the other search results, generally we start off with a few directories, and then we'll go a bit further down and we'll start to find maybe on the second page even here, actual electricians. So that's a search for electrician near me. Now, Google is always evolving and it's trying to deliver what people want, and therefore the layout of the page is forever changing. They used to have things down the side here, we had adverts here, we had maps down here. They've now compressed it all and it's all down the middle here. another search I've just done is electrician Glasgow, and that's been done slightly differently in the way they presented it. So here, Google Ads are taking up the top of the page. So there's 4 Google Ads here. Then we've got the directories, and then we've got the Google Maps. 2 different layouts. Google is continually evolving and changing the way they deliver things. It's worth remembering they're an advertising company. Their objective is to persuade business to spend money on adverts, because every time someone clicks on one of these adverts, they'll be charging the electrical company £1, £2, £3 for each click. That's how they make their money. They're a huge advertising company. But at the same time, they've been successful by trying to offer a useful service. So trying to make sure that the results are always useful to the person looking at it, so people continue to use Google for their search engine. So let me just come back to my slide over here. Do Google Maps matter? Obviously, they're halfway down the page. We've got adverts at the top, the local service ads. We've got the Google ads at the top. And then we get down to Google Maps. The answer is that these 3 companies here will get about 35 to 40% of all the clicks for someone visiting that page. So in this case, Leicester Electrician, anyone typing that in will see something like this. And these 3 here will get around about 35 to 40% of all the clicks from people that search that. So yes, they are. They're very valuable. If you are one of these 3, you will find the phone is ringing every single day and you're getting inquiry after inquiry from it. Now, before I go into how you become one of those 3 ranking at the top of Google Maps, I thought I'd give you a little bit of information about some things that Google is looking for in terms of choosing companies that rank well. First of all, what they call proximity. So it matters to them how close your business is to the person searching. If someone's searching in Manchester and you're based in Hull, for example, you've got no chance of ranking highly in Google Maps. You've got to be near to the person searching. The relevance of what they search. So if your website is talking about CCTV and a person is searching for fire alarm, there's no chance that you'll rank highly in Maps. However, if your website is all about CCTV and that's what they're searching for, then you've got a very good chance of doing well. And lastly, the prominence of your website and the business and your business. So Google cares about the authority of your website, the authority of your business, and they judge that in terms of reviews, external links, how often your company is mentioned online, things like that. So those 3 things, proximity, relevance, and prominence, are big factors in who ranks highest in local search. We have what we call a 4-step formula for ranking highly in Google Maps in the 3-pack. And I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail now and show you how you can go about increasing your own search ranking. The first step is to claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. Now, Google My Business is this block down here on the right whenever someone searches for your company. So this company here, Full Circuit Electrical. Down the left are the search results for their company, and on the right is the Google My Business listing. And it's very useful and informative for someone searching. It's got the company name, the address, telephone number, website address, phone numbers, map, and so on. So it's a very useful, informative block. And that's Google My Business. And it's very important that if you're going to rank well in local search engines, you have all the information on there correct, and it's optimized to work as well as possible with Google. The first thing to do, if you haven't done already, is to claim your Google My Business account. The easiest way of doing that is to search for your company name in Google and then click on the Own This Business button. You'll then see one of 2 screens. If you don't already own it, one like this will come up and it will tell you who has claimed it. So in this case, this business has been claimed by somebody whose email starts da@gmail.com. It could be an ex-employee of yours, or it could be one of your own email addresses. If you know who that person is, then you can ask them to add you on. If you don't, click on the Request access button here, that will then send an email to that person saying you've asked to be a manager and owner of this account. Can they confirm that's okay? They do that, and then you're added on and you can start managing the account. If you've already claimed it, you'll see a screen like this which will have your email address here that you claimed the account with, and you just click on the Manage Now button and you can start managing that Google My Business account. So search for it online, search your business online, and then check you own it if you're not sure by clicking on Own This Business. The next thing is to set up Google My Business. The first thing is to make sure the company name is correct and matches the website. So whatever you've got here should match exactly what you've got on the website. The reason for that is Google is always looking to verify data. It's trying to avoid people spamming, being dishonest online. So they're trying to check that data matches everywhere it's found on the internet. So whatever company we have here should match what's on your website. And some companies in the past would put keywords in here hoping that would help. Google has gone against that, so don't bother stuffing it with CCTV, fire alarm, security alarm, etc. Just be sort of honest and have your actual company name on there. The second thing is to use a local address rather than a PO box. So under the address block on the right here, use a real physical address. Google hates PO boxes. It's looking for a physical address, and that's what should go in there. Also a local phone number, so not an 0800, not an 0870 type number, but a local code. In this case it's 01904. Obviously you want your website address on there, and upload photos, and really as many photos as possible. And the type of photos you want are staff photos, vans, work you've done in the past, the office, premises, equipment, all that sort of thing. Google loves having lots of photos on there, and if you take them on a mobile phone, it has a thing called a geotag, which is embedded in the actual photo, which will show Google where the photo was taken. So let's say you're based in Manchester and you're working in Manchester mainly. If you're continually taking photos in Manchester, Google will know that you are a Manchester company, and it will help your search ranking in the Manchester area in Google Maps. The last thing to add is your hours down here, and also the services you offer. So you can put a category in here. In this case it's electrician, but you can also add services as well to your Google My Business account. So let's have a look in a bit more detail about how you do all that. Once you've logged in to Google My Business, you'll see a screen like this. We've just blanked out a few bits of data because it's customer sensitive data. Down the left is a menu. Here is your company name and address. And over here is the information you can edit. I tend to start with the info part of it because that's where most of the information is. Here's your company name. So if that's incorrect, there's a pencil next to it where you can make a change. Then categories, the types of services you offer, and I'll come back to that in a moment in a bit more detail as to what should go in there. You've got your address. If you only work in certain areas, you can put the areas in there. So for example, let's say you only work in Essex, you can put Essex in there. We tend to leave that blank for clients because if someone's a mile over a county border, you'll still deal with them. So it's better to try and show a bigger area rather than a smaller area. Your working hours can go in here. If you have special hours, for example, Christmas opening, that can be updated here. And obviously your telephone number and your website address. So all that information is added under the info tab. Now, the categories up here are very important because Google is using that in deciding who it should show for different searches. The ones we tend to use for electrical and security companies are as follows. For electrical companies, electrician is the biggie, followed by electrical engineer, electrical equipment supplier, electrical installation service. And for security, really there's a few different ones here. Security system installer and supplier, CCTV, and then fire alarms. We suggest picking whichever ones are relevant. So don't go and pick lots that aren't really relevant or have only got a small amount of relevance to you. Pick the ones that really matter to you, because this is an important part of how Google is identifying whether or not to show your business to a person searching. A common problem we find is the map location is wrong in Google Maps. On the Google My Business page, they show the outside of your office. So if the map is wrong, then it will show the wrong picture. So we often see things like trees and bushes and so on, just because it's slightly in the wrong place where they're showing the outside of the building. If that's the case with yourselves, click on the pencil next to your address. A screen like this will pop up with your business location on it. All you need to do then is to click on the little red map pointer and drag it to wherever you really are and drop it down there. Click on apply, and in 2 or 3 days Google will update your details. Now, lower down on the info screen, there's some more information that needs filling in. The first part here from the business tends to be aimed really at retail and restaurants, bars and so on. In there you can put things like wheelchair accessible, you've got toilets, all those sorts of things. One thing that has become more relevant recently is health and safety, and under there you can, if your engineers are going out wearing masks, you can put in there that the staff wear masks, that you disinfect surfaces after visits, things like that. So that is worth adding at the moment. What is very important though is this section down here, which is a bit of information about your company. Now, this is the Google My Business page for my business. And you'll see here from Electrical Marketers, here is the text that we've put in here. You can add about 150 words. What we suggest is making sure the first half is written for people, so it's some useful sales text about your business and why people should contact you. And the second half is more aimed at Google, so has keywords in terms of a list of the services you offer. So if you look at ours here, it ends up the word together, which is here. So up to there, that is all readily visible to somebody. Clicking on more will then show the bottom part. So we've made those first 2 paragraphs text aimed at people, at our potential customers. And then in the last paragraph, we've added a list of all our services, knowing that Google will look at all the text. And we want to say to Google, this is what we do. Can you rank us highly for these services, please? At the bottom of the Google My Business listing, and let me just come back to a real one so you can just see how it all fits together. So electrician in Glasgow. Let's click on this one here. DM Electrical Glasgow. Let's see what they've got. So here's their contact details. They've put some photos in there you can see. There's their reviews. What they haven't done is add the company information, which would appear here. And below that, if they'd done it, you'd get some posts appearing too. So if I just come back to that screenshot of our one. So there's the reviews we just saw, then the information about us, and then down the bottom here are posts. Now, very few people post on Google, mainly because they don't realize there's such a service there. But it is well worth doing, and we recommend to our customers, as an absolute minimum, put a post on your Google My Business listing once every 3 months. Ideally, do it every month. The way you do that is on the menu on the left here, under posts, you can add an image and some text. It doesn't take very long to do. Post it. So I'm thinking things like a blog post, a bit more detail about one of your services. If something's happening in your industry that you want to write about, put that in there. It's visible to people because it's on the Google My Business listing, and therefore it's often shown. But more importantly, Google are looking at that. Google My Business, as far as Google's concerned, is the best reference for information about your company. And you in these posts are telling them all about what you do. And if you're doing it once a month, once every 3 months, you are continually saying to them, here's what we're doing, here's what we're doing. you're sort of using the, I suppose, the back door to telling them all about your services. So it's important and well worth adding a post, ideally every month, to this Google My Business post section. I mentioned photos before. The way you add photos is, well, there's two ways. One is in the home part. At the top here is a box where you can just click on add photo, and if you're doing it on your phone, you can add on the photo, take a photo, and it's posted straight away, so it's very, very easy to do. Or down the left here, you can see a list of all the photos you've added in the past, and you can select which is the cover image, the first one up here. You can also add your company logo and so on there. So with photos, the takeaway is as many as possible. You can't really add too many because Google loves the photos. It's a thing it's looking for companies to add more and more of, and we suggest taking photos of staff, taking photos of the office, the vans, equipment, work done, all those types of things. Now, one more thing to say about Google My Business is that it gives you information on what people are doing, so what people are looking at when they come to your Google My Business record. The reason it's so important, it is so visible. So this was for a security company. This is their data during October. So their Google My Business record has had 1,500 views. And you can see 824 of those are on search, 686 of those are on maps. So there's an awful lot of people seeing that company. You can also see what people have done. So in this case, for this business, during October, 67 people looked at Google My Business and then visited their website. 3 asked for directions to get there, and 45 made a phone call. I'm just going to give you some best practices. So these are the sort of the tips, if you like, aside from setting everything up. These are the tips we recommend to all of our customers. Obviously, fill everything in completely. Add information about your business to the About Us section at the bottom that I showed you. Update your photos regularly and add to them, on an ongoing basis. And add a Google post at least once every 90 days, ideally once every month. When you get a review, respond to it. Hopefully most reviews you get will be positive, in which case, a quick thank you for taking the time to leave it. Every so often you'll get a negative review. There's no way around that. Often they're daft ones as well. There'd be something like someone will post. What I saw recently was somebody wouldn't let them out into the main road. So there was a van driving along a road, didn't let this car pull out. So as a result, the driver wrote a review on Google to complain about them. Nothing to do with the business whatsoever. It could have been that driver was rushing home for a sick child, who knows what it might be, and didn't have the time to let somebody come out. As a result, an unhappy person left a negative review. We're always going to get negative reviews, and the answer with them is to reply and say, look, really sorry, is there some way we can help? Could you contact us? If it's a difficult customer where you did everything right and then they complained, put that into the response. Put in there, we did this for you, we did that for you, we did the other thing for you. It all worked when we left. It wasn't our fault that you turned the taps on and sprayed water all over the plug sockets or whatever it may be. But it's worth putting some kind of feedback into the negative ones so that when someone's looking at your business, they can see how you've responded. And lastly, with your Google My Business, when you're asked questions on it, and there is a questions and answers section there, and people have the option to ask you a question, always respond quickly to that. It's not used that much. However, Google does seem to be making it more prominent now, the question part. So I think in the future there may be more questions getting asked, in which case do respond to them quickly. Now, some additional tips. Use Google Maps for directions to your office. I know this seems a bit daft because obviously you know the way to the office. However, Google is tracking how many people are going to a company's Google record and then clicking on the directions to find that business. We saw that in the report I showed you a little bit earlier on. So therefore, use that from time to time. Ask your staff to do so as well, and just use the navigation to get to the office. It's another indicator to Google that you're a business that is being visited regularly, that people are interested in, and is relevant to people in your local area. So it is well worth doing. Also, for the same reason, phone the office now and again using Google My Business. So click on the phone number on the right side of the screen to call your company rather than just typing it in. Again, a bit pointless, but Google is tracking that. And so the more times you appear and the more relevant it thinks your business is, the better. And for the same reason, visit the website now and again via Google My Business. And we do this for our clients. That's one thing we do. When we visit their website, we go via Google My Business just as another way of indicating the importance to to the search engine. And lastly, and most importantly, take photos on your mobile phone and upload to Google My Business, because then the geotag, the location the photo is taken in, is included in the photo, and it says to Google, this is the area we're working in. And if you're all working in Manchester and you'll keep on taking photos in Manchester, Google knows that for people searching in Manchester, you are a relevant and important company. Okay, the second part of our 4-step formula for ranking well in Google Maps is to build citations. Citations are directory listings. And by directories, I mean things like Facebook, Google's obviously a directory, Yale.com, Thomson Local, those types of things. The first thing you want is lots of citations across the internet. Google is trying to find your company in lots of different places, so they know that you are a proper company. That if lots of different websites have information about your business, then you are a real proper company. You're not someone that's trying to sort of fool the system, a spammer. And in terms of citations, the most important thing is name, address, and phone number, NAP. Google is trying to match your name, your company address, and your phone number in lots of different places. The more it can do, the better, and the more it does, the higher the authority it places on your business. And it's important, therefore, to have a consistent company name, address, and phone number. So for the address, don't be Unit 2 ABC Road on one place and then 2 ABC Road another. Always have the same. It's a tiny difference, but always have 2 Main Road, Liverpool, and then the postcode, the same address everywhere, and for your company, exactly the same company name. So some places have limited on the end, some places not have limited. Always have one consistent company name, and with phone number, one phone number, ideally with a local code, local area code. So don't be using an 0800 in some places, a mobile in other places, and a local phone number in other places again. Lastly, fix any duplicates, because Google doesn't like to have duplicates in the same record, the same company showing twice in, let's say, Yale.com with slightly different addresses. And also fix any incorrect business information. So everything that's shown about you is completely correct. In terms of what those citation directories are, these are the 30, probably the most important ones. We have software that sort of looks at these 30 to see if someone's listing in all of them. Some of these are US based, but obviously Google is an American company, so it's important also to be shown in their directories. And there's things like there's Google, their Facebook, independent newspaper, Yale, Thomson Local, and so on. The software we use, it looks at those 30, and what it's doing is several things. It's checking, is your company found in all of them? And then is the information that is being found correct? So this particular business, the company name was correct on 6 citation directories and incorrect on 5. And it was a silly thing. It was where they'd had a previous company name, and I think they had part of it in brackets on some directories and without brackets on others, a slightly different name to them. But as a result, Google's seeing 2 different businesses, which is what it's not looking for. And this particular one, the address was wrong in all cases, but again, because they'd slightly changed the address. So the address on the website said one thing, and the address everywhere else said something different. Phone number, postcode were correct on all of them. So it's important to make sure everything matches everywhere that there is information about you. A few best practices for citations. Manually claim and optimize your Google My Business, because that's the most important one. Set up social media with the correct address and so on. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Manually claim key citations, so the top 30 directories I just showed you, or you can use a service. There's a couple like Bright Local and there's one called Moz Local that will do the work for you. You pay them and then they'll claim all those directory listings for you. And lastly, continually claim more citations. So set up the key ones, the big ones, but keep on getting more, particularly local directories. So if there is a local directory, a local newspaper that's got a listing of companies, put yourselves in there. Google's looking everywhere. They're continually searching all the different databases of companies around the world. So the more times they find your business listed and your address listed, they add a bit more authority to you. And the higher your authority, the higher the chances of you ranking well. Now, third step to our four-step process for ranking well in Google Maps is to get a lot of reviews. You'll notice always that the companies listed highly have got a lot of reviews. If I just come back to that search page, let's just, oops. Let me just come back here. So this was electrician in Glasgow. There we go. The first three results, 73, 63, 47. They've got a lot of reviews, those companies. If I were to look at the top 20, so the top three average about 60 Google reviews. If I come down to the bottom three, 15, 12, 10. And slightly above that, 5, 6, 7. So it's very clear that the companies that have a lot of reviews on Google are the ones, there we are, the top 5 or 6 there have all got at least 40. This one here is 176. So the companies with lots of Google reviews always rank well. Now, it's important to have a strategy for getting reviews. They don't just come along. You don't just give a good service and then someone thinks, I'm really pleased, I'll give a review of that business. Some people do, but it's not very often. The reality is people expect a good service, and when you deliver it, then that's fine, but they won't do anything more than that. So it really does help to have a strategy for getting reviews. The first thing we suggest is a printed card, leaving a printed card saying, would you mind going to this URL and leaving a review for us? And you can set up a very short URL that then links to a Google review page. Second thing is to email a review request after every service call. A quick line saying, we hope you've been happy with the service. If there's any problems, contact us. If you wouldn't mind, we'd be grateful if you could leave a quick review for us on Google. Here's a link to click on to do that, which goes straight to a page where they can just click on the star rating and then leave a line about what they thought of you if they'd like to. It's well worth training your engineers, your electricians to ask for reviews as well. If nothing more, so that people then expect, that you will contact them about a review. So the engineer could say, we try and give a very good service. The office will be contacting you in the next day or so just to check everything was okay. If you wouldn't mind leaving a review for us, they'll email over a link showing you how to do that very easily. So it's well worth asking your electricians and your engineers to mention reviews to them. Because if somebody isn't happy, you'd rather hear about it up front rather than later on them complaining or not coming back to you in the future. We also recommend a quality call on the phone after a job has been done. Just a quick call to say, was everything okay? Were you happy with it? Any problems? And then at the end of that call to say, would you mind leaving us a review? I'll email over a link to you for how to do that. And really, the companies that get a lot of reviews and therefore rank at the top of Google Maps search listings are the ones where reviews and recognition are part of the company culture. So they are asking everybody for their feedback, and they are asking everybody for their reviews and their recognition. And it does make a huge difference in terms of the number of inquiries you get, because one of the very first slides I showed said about 2/3 of people look at reviews before contacting a company they've never dealt with before. So it's not only Google that's looking at them, it's real people that are looking at them. And having a culture of getting reviews will help no end over the the coming months and the coming years. The last part of our 4 steps to ranking well in Google Maps is website optimization. And really, by this, we mean having your company name, address, and phone number on every single page of the website. We recommend putting it into the footer at the bottom of the website, and then it's on all pages, and it has to match whatever you're using elsewhere. So whatever is in the footer here needs to match what you're using in Google My Business, and needs to match what's on all your citations or your directory listings as well. Now, there are a number of factors that go into ranking well in Google. Now, this is from a company called Bright Local, who are specialists in some of the tools that help people to rank well in search engines. First one is Google My Business, which accounts for about 25% of your search ranking, your local search ranking. So getting Google My Business right is key and imperative. The second thing is links to the website. So other sites linking to you, directories linking to you, all those sorts of things. So if you write an article and you submit it to an online website, which then links back to you, that helps. The reason that's important is that Google is looking for authority in a business before they rank them highly. And if lots of other websites link to that website, to that article, they know it isn't a high authority site and article. Reviews account for about 15% of your Google Maps ranking. The website, the way it's set up and the content accounts for about 14%. Citations I covered are an important factor. And behavior, so what people do. So when they search for your business, they then click to go to the website, or they click on the Google My Business directions, phone number, etc. Their behavior is an indicator in terms of how important a site is, and therefore how high it should rank in Google Maps. And other factors are things like social media, the relevance of the site to what someone is searching for, and so on. So in summary, there's 4 steps to what we recommend companies do. First of all, claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. And by optimizing, I mean fill it out with as much information as you can, and then continually add more photos, get reviews, add on posts every month if you can about what you're doing. Secondly, get lots of citations across the internet, so get your business listed in lots and lots of directories. Third step is to build up reviews, and it's not just Google, it's also places like Facebook, like Yell.com, Checkatrade, Trusted Trader, and so on. Get a lot of online reviews. Google is the most important one for Google Maps listing, but the others have a factor in it as well. If you're working on Checkatrade, you need a lot of recent reviews to rank well there. So we often recommend to companies balancing Google and Checkatrade, getting some on Google, get some on Checkatrade, and just make sure they're sort of doing the two together. Otherwise, you'll just drop down on Checkatrade and stop getting business there. And lastly, optimize your website. So make sure your company name, address, phone number is on every single page of the website, and it matches what you're doing elsewhere. So I've covered quite a few things there. As I mentioned at the beginning, we've recorded the webinar, so we can send you a link to it if you want to watch it again, if you want to go through any bits in more detail. Lastly, if you do need some help, if you'd like a free review of your online marketing, I'm more than happy to talk to you and sort of give you some feedback on what you're doing. Generally, when we review a company, we're looking at several things. We're looking at the online visibility, so how easy is it to find that company? Their search ranking for key search terms. Directory listing, so are they in the directories? Is their listing correct everywhere? Their reviews and reputation. Social media presence, and then how good the website is at converting people that visit it into inquiries. So there's quite a few different things that we tend to look at when we're reviewing a company. If you'd like to take advantage of a free review, please just give us a call on the phone number here, or you can go to electricalmarketers.co.uk/schedule, and there's a calendar on there. You can just book a 15-minute phone call in my diary and we can have a chat about what you're trying to achieve. And if you've got any questions from what I've covered today, and I've been through quite a lot of stuff and I've tried to get through it quickly as well, so we didn't spend hours and hours going into it in detail, pop an email over to me and I'll come back to you as quickly as I can with an answer to your question. So thanks for joining us today. I hope the webinar's been useful. I hope it's given you some ideas and thoughts in terms of what you can be doing and what things you should be doing to improve your local search ranking. As I mentioned, Google Maps is really important and becoming more and more important. And we know that the 3 companies that appear in the Google Maps 3-pack are getting about 35 to 40% of clicks when someone searches for electrician, CCTV installer, fire alarm company, things like that. So if you can get your company into that 3-pack, you're going to do very, very well in the future. Any questions? Pop me an email over. Thank you.